Victory to love, the love inside your heart. Victory to the light that shines in your mind. Earth, sky, and stars.
Namaste. Hi, welcome to the Shaman The Mermaid, and this is your astrological download for May 15th all the way through June 14th. I can't believe we're already into that almost summertime. We are starting off this report with a total lunar eclipse and the Scorpio full moon.
Ow.
Ow! That's it. You got what you needed right there. There's a lot of movement this report. There's a lot of planets going into their home signs. As many as 4 of them going into home, putting the car in the garage and kicking up their feet. So we have lots of good feelings about that. We'll go through all of the aspects, talk about the eclipse and some retrogrades coming and ending. We got a mantra for you.
Touch base with home base, and I think Michael already kind of hinted why we're using that. It's not a hunker down, close the curtains, lock the door kind of get home. It's just touch base with home base. Wherever home base is for you, could be, in your van life, you pull into a town that's comfortable to you or it feels grounding to you. But we're saying this because there's all the other planets. We've got Mercury in home, we've got Mars in home base, Venus is home base, and Neptune is home base. So with all these planets in their comfort zone, we took it as the as above, so below principle of let's also do the same. And school's ending and summer's about to begin and college kids come home or everybody throws their locker on the bedroom floor and then they want to just jump out and go into summer right away. And we're saying, no, the planets are saying, just a little touch base there for more than that half a second we do before we start out on summer. Get grounded, get centered, kind of make a little game plan for how summer wants to look, and then go have fun. But I think the planets are telling us this is a good time just to feel a little grounded for a moment before we carry on. And with Mercury retrograde, it's a really good time for that little bit of reflection that comes with the retrograde. And we'll have another retrograde too by the end of the report. We'll get to that one in a minute. So touch base with home base is our theme for this next month cycle. And let's go right back into what you started with, that full moon solar eclipse in Scorpio.
This is the second of 2 eclipses. They always come in 2s, sometimes 3s. The first one was back in April on the 30th, and they're always 2 weeks apart. And this one is a Scorpio full moon at 10:14 Mountain Standard Time PM. So in Denver, yes, you can see it this time. It'll start sometime around 8 PM, just after sunset when the moon is rising, when you look to the east, and you'll see the moon gradually start to occult, turn a little gray, then it'll start to go into the colors of probably orange and red, and then at 10:15 or 10:14 it'll be at the fullness of the eclipse, and will be hanging over the eastern horizon. This eclipse, while the rest of the report kind of is a happy touch base, it's not that this isn't happy, but there's a lot of intensity around this eclipse. Intensity can be good. It can be passion, inspiration, movement, clarity, ending of a cycle that needed to end, and it's also the beginning of a new cycle. Eclipses, remember, mean cut. And I'll introduce it and then let Katrina talk a little about it. So the sun is in Taurus, moon is in Scorpio, and in between is Saturn squaring this eclipse. It's called squaring the karmic nodes of fate. And on the north node with the sun is Uranus. This is a square, the Saturn-Uranus square, that's been going on since the end of 20, all of 21, and it's still persisting in 2022. So this is a relevant thing of the clash between the old way and the new way of what needs to come in, evolve, and change. And what do you got on this Scorpio full moon eclipse with Saturn square the nodes in Uranus?
Well, as he said, it's the nodes are the where your soul wants to go and where where the soul has been, essentially. And Saturn is karma, and these are the karmic points in your life. So there's a whole lot of karma coming up right now. Karma that is good, karma that is heavy, karma that can be cleared, eclipse, throw it through that portal, letting go of old patterns, old ways, and you know what they are. You know what those, we call them samskaras in Sanskrit, these behavioral traits that we have that we're already turned off on it, our own self, things that we do that we don't like about ourselves, and we know that other people are totally turned off by it too. If we're annoying our own self, we're probably annoying others around us. So this is a chance to look at these things and really get that motivation to let it go. So touch base with home base, especially a good starting point is right on that full moon, and allow for yourself to be honest and allow for that Scorpio full moon, which is about transformation, about purging and the death of things, really. So like let it all go. And then when we are in this tone here, that Uranus piece is anything could happen. And I feel like this is a magical moon because of that, and because if we're being really truthful with ourselves, and we're saying, you know what, I have this tendency to be really super critical and judgmental without having any evidence, without having anything. I create a story, make assumptions, all those things. I'm going to stop. This is my stopping point. And we say this to ourselves all the time, but we have the magic of this full moon to help really make this solidify or cut or be the death of something. So encourage you to touch base with home base on this full moon and purge and let go of all the things that need to be released in yourself, or at least one of them. I mean, we got a lot, right? We've got a whole lifetime worth of stuff and lifetimes worth of stuff in our karmic backpack. Maybe just pull one out, and if that feels okay, pull another. And that beautiful Sanskrit word that I love, svaha, just let it go through the portal on this one. So that's a lot on the Scorpio full moon. And those nodes squaring with Saturn, I don't take that lightly. I think it's a real thing to keep in your awareness. So when you're marking your calendar of big dates, that May 15th is a big one for us. And then we move on.
Right after that, on May 17th, we have Mars, who is in the sign of Pisces, coming into a conjunction with Neptune. Neptune is in the home sign of Pisces. Neptune went into Pisces in 2011 and will be there for 14 years, so it's a little over halfway through its cycle. But that's one of the planets in its home sign. And so Mars and Neptune, I don't want to say it's a mixed bag, but not that they're not friends, but they kind of are a little different in energy, but they could be put together to harness. Conjunction is joining two things together like a yin-yang and bringing them in. Mars is active, going out, willpower, time and space, linear. Neptune is no time and space, dreamy, spiritual, not in the physical realm. And so when they're conjuncting, maybe this is really sweet. It's yin and yang coming together, and it's walking in both worlds as a possibility.
I like it that it's coming right after the eclipse, because you know how that first day you're all determined, like, I am going to quit being so judgmental, and you make this and svaha and you let it go on the full moon, and then 2 days later you're like, meh, 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 and you're right back at it. Well, here's Mars and Neptune to help that, because Neptune's kind of the you can get really delusional, and you could talk yourself out of something like, oh, it's okay if I just have a little bit of this, or I let myself have a little bit of real on that line. And Mars is there right next to it saying, nah. Let's stay really determined. Let's stay strong in this sankalpa or intention that we're setting for ourselves. So that warrior energy is saddling up with that no boundaries kind of Neptunian energy that could be turned, if you want to harness it, as he said, to use to your advantage. The other way is you could just become a total jerk on that day, because that warrior draws the sword, no boundaries, and just starts slicing heads left and right. And remember, we're in Mercury retrograde still, so we want to be very impeccable with our words and not slice too many heads. But use that strong willpower and Neptune's spiritual prowess together to help ignite that sankalpa that you set for the full moon on the 15th.
Maybe a good day to meditate. Use your willpower to sit down.
Yes, still with that, our theme, touch base with home base. Home base is really, truly the heart, Home is where the heart is. And so no matter where you are, if you're traveling all around and you don't have enough time to get home too much, just go here. This is home base as well. Okay, so we got to keep cruising. We have a nice trine coming up on the 19th of May, and that's Sun in Taurus still, trining Pluto, and you want to speak to that?
This is a sweet energy. Trines are harmonic energies, supportive, resonant. And so Sun is you. It's your persona, your personality, the vehicle for your soul, and the soul is Pluto. And so they're aligned. It's who you are is alignment with the soul, or very potential this day. And these are both earth signs. Taurus is earthy, fecundity, self-love, starting a cycle, simplicity, sensual. And Capricorn is, well, traditionally it's like doing things career-oriented, getting your ducks in a row. It's knowing what your dharma is and purpose. But Capricorn can also be playful. It's the goat fish, and it's where we get the word capricious. And so this can be a day where the soul and the personality can be a little playful together, and you can get things done and feel grounded. And yeah, this is right.
Soul shine.
Soul shine.
It's a good day for soul shine. And then the next day, the sun's going to move out of Taurus and into the sign of Gemini. So then that's when we say happy birthday to all the Geminis. That will begin your month of birthday love. And Gemini is that curiosity, and everybody will have a little feel of this when the sun moves into Gemini, not just those born in that sign, but all of us will feel that provocation of our curiosity and our wanting to know things and seeking information, and tendency to go Google way too much. So, be curious in other ways besides just the internet. And I have a hard time sometimes with Sun and Gemini because of all of that needing to know piece. So then I want to keep reminding all of us that we should touch base with home base. So when that hits and we're wanting all this little, bits of information coming at us and we're seeking it all, remember to stay very grounded while Sun's in Gemini.
Gemini, if you go to nature, this can also help with the sign if you have a challenge with it. It's when the flowers are coming out, the leaves are coming out, the bugs are flying around. It's a time of wonder. And so if you're challenged with Gemini and you go into a state of wonder and wow, isn't that amazing? Look at all the abundance of Mother Nature vibrating with life.
Yeah, that's a great way to satisfy the curiosity, is to check out nature. Love that.
The next day on the 21st, Sun and Mercury conjoin. Sun's going this way, Mercury's going retrograde, and they meet. This is the second of 3 meetings. They met when Mercury went past, and now Mercury's coming together. And so it's kind of like a recheck-in. Mercury is in this retrograde cycle, and it's, what did you forget? What did you need to remember? What do you want to take on as a project? What thing have you been wanting to write as a book or artwork piece you want to do, or installation? Mercury's like, okay, let's get it. Let's get the information. Let's gather it. And the Sun is like, do it.
It's a good day to also reinforce that sankalpa that you set on that full moon. And, if we're cutting something negative out and we keep going back to reminding ourselves, let's stick with this, that Mercury and Sun conjunct would be a great day for a reflection, because it's still in retrograde, or a review, or remembrance, all the RE words. So maybe put that on the calendar to return to that sankalpa, revisit that sankalpa again, just to keep it going, keep it strong, keep it out into the portal and cut. And then Mercury, so Mercury is in Gemini there. That's home base for Gemini. But then the next day, Mercury is moving into the sign of Taurus.
Retrograding back into Taurus. And so it's revisiting, it's going back over the area of the shadow. So what was going on in mid to late April? This is a retouch on there, and Taurus is ground down, simplify it. So if a theme is coming up that was in your life a little bit earlier, the Taurus message with Mercury retrograde is, if it was complicated before, try to make it simple. If it was overly difficult and not in alignment with self-love, then things cut out and go back to being nurturing, loving, and grounding down.
Sounds so simple when we say it, and then we go to do it, and it's so hard. So just maybe hold that intention close to the heart, and maybe literally, like I keep, when I'm really trying to keep something in my remembrance, sometimes I switch my bracelet to the other side as something that's like, oh yeah, that's what that's for. Or a stone, keep a stone tucked in your brassiere, and then that'll help you remember too. These little things that just help us stay in awareness of what we are trying to clip and cut and clear. Okay, and then some more home base. Mars is going to move into Aries on the 24th of May, and that's home base. So touch base with home base. And what do you think about Mars in Aries?
It's been 2 years since Mars has last been in Aries, and that was in 2020 when in 2019 when Mars had a retrograde in Aries and was in it for 6 months.
6 months, that's right.
It won't be in there that long this time, just 2 months. Mars will make a clear pass. When Mars is in its home sign, it's empowered, it has more resonance, it's more forward in consciousness in the field. That's another way of saying it's in home base. But these energies become more conscious, present, and aware. And so Mars and Aries energy in a positive way, it's being empowered, it's being in your own authority, it's having open-heartedness and feeling like you can do that without having to hide yourself or cover up. Aries is also where the planet Chiron has been hanging out, and at the beginning of this report, Venus conjoined Chiron, and so there could be things coming up around, do I feel like my masculine or my yang or my solar energy is in its right way? Is it supportive? Is it being in harmony with everything? And so this can be a time where the garden is ripe, it's the time of season to support positive masculine / positive yang energy.
Yeah, and when Mars is in Aries and it's not using its power in right way, you can look like a piece of work, just one of those people that has got a vengeance going on, and a lot of resentment comes up, a lot of anger burning under the skin. And so be cautious that if you are feeling some of those resentments and angers coming to the surface, to channel that, to release it, find a healthy exit valve for that energy. You certainly don't want to keep it bottled down or stuff it down or try to repress it, but you want to make sure that you're not spewing your venom on your family and friends, or the guy who parked halfway in your driveway or something like that. Keep your cool. Keep your cool while Mars is in Aries. It can easily get rattled. But as Michael said, when it's used in right way, you're in your power. You're like Zorro all over the place, and that's pretty cool. Okay, so then we have another sign that goes into home base, and that's Venus into Taurus. She has 2 home bases, Taurus being one, Libra being the other one. And so this is her first home on the wheel, her first stop that she gets to call home. And then by the time she gets around to the other, it's a different energy. And I like Venus and Taurus. Maybe it's because I'm a Taurus rising and I relate to Taurus a little bit. But I think it brings up a lot of sensuality, a lot of aesthetic and beauty, and I tune in to my values and what I feel is the areas of my life that I want to bring to the surface that are my strong suits. It feels very empowering that way. And Venus she's love, and she's abundance, and she's beauty herself. So there's this double whammy of all these energies, sort of like Mars and Aries is. It's that, but with loving kindness. And like I said, it's not just romantic love. It's a value system. The important things that you hold dear to your heart become amplified at this time. So touch base with home base on that one too. And that's on May 28th. What do you think about, I guess I spoke to the positives. I didn't mention any of the shadow. What are some of the dark things that can happen when Venus is home?
Overindulgence, getting caught up in beauty is the thing, outer beauty. It's like, oh, I have to be glamorous, I need money, I need lust. That's you got it. It's the downside of Venus and Taurus.
Use your energy wisely.
Yeah, choose wisely. On May 29th, Mars conjuncts Jupiter. This is a big energy, literally. Jupiter is the biggest energy in the chart, and then Mars is like a match, and a flame or a spark. The positive side to this is it's getting stuff done. It's putting energy forward. Like Jupiter is what you envision, what the quest you want to go for, what's worthy of putting your life force towards and taking a journey and going for it. And Mars says, go, take a step, do it, start moving. You don't have to know how to do every step along the way to that great vision of Jupiter, but Mars says, start it.
Got a lot of power there. I mean, just to put it a little perspective, the Jupiter, as you know, is a big giant gaseous ball, right? And they say that if you could light it, as he indicated, Mars is like the spark, but if you could strike a match and throw it at Jupiter, it would be 10 times the power of our sun. So there's a lot of potential in these two coming together for big starts, big bangs, big blow-ups as well, so be careful around that. But I always try to shoot for the positive. How can I harness this energy? As above, so below. Like, I'm going to work with this in the best way that I can. So that is the 29th of May that happens. And then we have a new moon in Gemini on the 30th. So that'll start a month cycle, and that's also a good time for setting intention or revisiting the one that you set on that full moon when you were letting things go through the portal eclipse. Maybe come back and take it to the next octave. If you feel like you're making those steps to step away from whatever it is you're letting go of, then maybe you bring in like the next step up. What's the next iteration of that look like for you? And that would be on May 30th that you do that. Then we get to June, and our first big thing is Mercury direct.
June 3rd, Mercury goes direct after being retrograde since May 10th. The shadow will persist from the 3rd through the 18th of June, meaning it's still going forward through the ground. It went backwards through. So there's still a little bit of Mercury retrograde-ish in the air during that time, but we're definitely going forward and moving, and Mercury is heading back towards its home sign of Gemini, which it will go into on the 13th.
And then it will be touching base with its home base as well again. And then, so we get out of Mercury retrograde and it goes direct, but then the next day Saturn goes retrograde. So we have some more retrograde, and that's June 4th. And how do you explain Saturn retrograde?
We've said this a lot. All of the planets go retrograde, so it's not unusual, and in fact, it's quite common to have retrograde energy any time of the year. But for the past couple of years, it's been during the summer and fall time, where all of the major planets have gone retrograde. Pluto is already retrograde and will be until October, and then Saturn does this until November. And so the summertime, the next couple planets to go will be Jupiter, and then Neptune, and then Uranus. Chiron will be in there, and they will all be retrograde sometime during July and August. But this is starting the cycle. The difference between Mercury retrograde and Saturn retrograde, for example, is Mercury is like a race car, throwing it into reverse and going back really quick, and you notice because you're thrown like that. When Saturn goes retrograde, it's like a cruise ship on the ocean making a big wide turn But once it turns, it's going that way. And so the energy is not always immediately noticeable. It's like, look at the view. It's the horizon slightly shifting, and then suddenly you're in a whole new direction. And so Saturn's all about, or not all about, but one of the themes that it's pulling forward is, where are you standing in your dharma? Where are you being the teacher? Where can you be in your inner authority and put your staff on the ground and say, this is the direction I go? It's in Aquarius now, so it's a call to action to stand up in your unique, soulful, individuated, high self way and be that, be unique, be different, and bring your gifts into the field.
So from now till November, you could use all the Ari words again, but around the energy of Saturn, as he said, is karmas, is justice, is, and Saturn in Aquarius, so authenticity, who you are, and really take a long review, Ari words, on what this is, what this looks like for you, because then we come into November, we're turning the corner into the next year, and it's a good time then to, as Saturn will go direct, start marching that march forward after you've had all this summertime and into the early fall to recalibrate yourself, recalibrate around those things of a sense of justice for you. It might be setting boundaries. It might be taking off the mask that maybe you've been wearing, not just the pandemic mask, but that mask that you've hid behind your whole life, and it's time to throw it off and say, this is me, people. This is a good time for making that plan for it. That's what the retrograde's for.
And our last major aspect of the report is Venus conjunct Uranus in Taurus. You probably like that one.
I do. Well, I like Uncle Uranus so much because he's such a wild card, and you just never know how he's going to show up. And then Venus, love and abundance. And so this could be a little lightning bolt to the whole romantic relationship. It could be suddenly you're remodeling your house. It could be you bought some land. What are you going to do with it? All of a sudden you own a boat. You're going on camping trips. It's like anything that has to do with home, beauty, and random sudden changes, a romance, sexuality, sensuality, anything could happen because Taurus is money. Taurus is about money. That Taurus-Scorpio line is the money line in the wheel. And that's where the nodes are, the north node and the south node. That the big eclipse day is squaring with Saturn. So, ow! That's why we're howling at the moon. So check your little funds, and maybe suddenly there'll be a big boon in the bank. And also, or like my son, who thought he had a whole bunch of money in the bank for a 19-year-old. He thought he had some money in the bank, and then he calls us up. There's no money in the bank. Well, what happened to all the money? I don't know. I guess all those little, Subway sandwiches chunked it out through college. So could end up like that, where you're like, there's no money in the bank. And just keep an eye on the monies and enjoy this time. Touch base with home base as much as you can, and then enjoy the rest of the summer. And we'll see you on that full moon in Sagittarius on June 14th. See you then.
Namaste.
Victory to love, the love inside your heart. Victory to the light that shines in your mind. Earth, sky and stars, 10,000 suns shine within us all. Give praise to the one. Victory to love, the love inside your heart. Victory to the light that shines in your mind. Earth, sky and stars, 10,000 suns